Now at midday, days after the FBI raids his home, a Texas congressman speaking out. What he's saying about the investigation and how his opponent is in the primary is responding. And shortage shutdowns, why the computer chip shortage could cause some factories to close up shop. Your Krhd News starts right now.
Connecting the Brazos Valley, this is KRHD News Midday.
Thanks for joining us here at Midday. I'm Paige Ellenberger. Just days after the FBI raided his home in Laredo, U.S. Representative Henry Cuellar is making his first public comments.
Let me be clear. I'm running for re-election and I intend to win. I will continue to represent the Congressional District of Texas like I always have. It is the honor of my life to represent you in Congress, and together we will win this election.
Now you're looking at video of that FBI raid. The congressman also saying in that statement posted to Twitter that he is fully cooperating with law enforcement and that the investigation will show no wrongdoing on his part. A grand jury has issued subpoenas for records relating to him, his wife, and at least one of his campaign staffers and their ties to Eastern Europe companies. His opponent in the Democratic primary, Jessica Cisneros, says her focus is on the campaign.
For South Texans, the FBI investigation into Henry Cuellar is alarming, and yet there were already serious concerns about the congressman's long history of corruption and delivering for his corporate donors instead of our voters here in Texas 28th. Now we need all hands on deck. This is our chance to cross over that finish line and win.
She ran against Cuellar back in 2020 and lost by just 4 percentage points. Meanwhile, the chip shortage here in the U.S. could force factories to shut down. The Commerce Department says companies that use semiconductors have less than 5 days of inventory. That's down from a 40-day supply back in 2019. The department took a survey of 150 companies and says chips used to produce automobiles and medical devices are especially thin on supply. The Biden administration is now calling on Congress to pass legislation to provide $52 billion for domestic semiconductor production. And scientists now believe one of Saturn's moons may be hiding something. Water. Until now, it was thought the rock was solid ice. NASA researchers have taken a closer look at its rotation and now think there may be an ocean buried under the moon's icy surface. Even though this ocean is encased in ice, scientists say it still might support life. Back here on Earth, Josh, how's our Wednesday shaping up?
Yeah, it's shaping up to be a sunny day out there across the Brazos Valley. You can already see that radar is clear here as we're getting into the middle of the day. That means plenty of sunshine will be out there. Where it's not sunny, though, is up to the north. That's where they're dealing with snow from Oklahoma City through Amarillo, back down through Lubbock, even getting close to the Midland area where you have winter weather advisories in effect. Does not include our neck of the woods, nor will it. We're going to see temperatures stay above freezing, at least during the daytime, and we'll also see dry conditions like what we have out there right now. Nothing but sunshine on the Extra Coat Eagle Eye here in Bryan College Station. Temperature at 42. It feels like 36, though, when you factor in northeast wind at around 12 miles per hour. 42 feeling like 36, 41 feeling like 33 in Centerville, 42 in Navasota, and 42 in Cameron. You have those north winds currently. They're going to be shifting around to the east today. That basically just reinforces the dry air. We may see some clouds work in by the end of the day on into the overnight hours, but then what we're watching is Thursday will cloud up again during the day. Could see a few sprinkles in the evening as a cold front sweeps through. That should clear the area by Friday, and Friday should be a sunny day with north winds and cooler temperatures rolling on in, and that'll set us up for a really, really nice weekend that is on the way. As far as what's to come after that, well, we'll move that out of the way. A dry weekend in place, and look what happens by Monday. We're tracking a little disturbance that's going to swing across, bring some pretty good rain chances Monday. Then Wednesday and Thursday Tuesday and Wednesday rather could have some showers as well. We'll have to watch Wednesday. Strong cold front will be warm ahead of it. May see some stronger storms and then some colder air behind it. Some models trying to throw out something other than rain, so we've got to monitor that very closely. But it does look like a cooler into the week for next week. Not too bad out there today, upper 50s. We should normally be in the low 60s. You'll still want the jacket all day. And then overnight falling down into the 30s. You may even see a light freeze in our northeastern counties again. 55 today, 60 tomorrow, 54 on Friday. You look at the weekend, though, 65 and 70. Saturday and Sunday going to be gorgeous. And then next week, that's when things really change. Up to the mid-70s before that front comes in, knocking us down to the 40s.
The importance of developing a pan-coronavirus vaccine becomes even more apparent. for what inevitably will be the emergence of future pandemics.
Today, Dr. Anthony Fauci will discuss a universal COVID vaccine at the White House. It wouldn't just cover the variants that cause COVID-19, but other coronaviruses. Dr. Fauci says there's already been significant work done.
There's a lot of investment to develop next generation of vaccines, particularly universal coronavirus vaccines.
Right now, the country is averaging more than 2,000 deaths every day. That's slightly higher than the Delta variant peak last September. Today, the Federal Reserve is expected to hint an interest rate hike is coming in March. The agency will issue a statement at the conclusion of its two-day meeting this afternoon. It's expected to include something on how the Federal Reserve plans to fight inflation. The Consumer Price Index rose 7% in December, which was the highest level in 40 years. Experts believe the Fed will raise interest rates 4 times this year. The last interest rate hike came in 2018. President Joe Biden could soon give a public statement on the developments in Ukraine and the U.S. strategy. The White House is trying to determine the best platform to announce the strategy and how it might impact people in our country. One problem facing a public statement is the situation is developing in real time. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said, right now the focus is on diplomacy and having conversations with the national security team. Right now, 8,500 U.S. troops are ready to deploy to Europe if Russia invades Ukraine.
Before we take you on the ground in 2 towns in Tennessee, we must take you in the air. In the Air shows the mountains and wonders that surround the towns with beauty and barriers. In the Air shows their slight size and their remote distance. And for those who live here, In the Air is too often the fastest way to the nearest hospital, since theirs is closed.
One of my friends had a heart attack the other day and they had to fly him out. This happened yesterday. Let me on.
On the ground,
I always get a catfish.
Shelley Utley runs the Copper Grill
You need a copy of your receipt.
in Tennessee's Copper Corner.
This town, it's an old mining town. It's been forgotten ever since the mine shut down.
Utley works in the town of Copper Hill. The hospital was in nearby Ducktown. A half-decade back, besieged by debt and a drying population, it became one of 138 rural hospitals in the last 12 years to close.
It just makes you feel there's nowhere to go. You'd just be out of luck if you had something really needed an emergency really fast.
There are hospitals somewhat close over the border in Georgia, but those with Tennessee insurance can't use them. That means, often, they're forced to fly.
I actually bought insurance in case I have to be flown out. You can buy an insurance policy for that. They sell it right over here at the grocery store.
Extreme external pressures have forced hospitals to close in rural and urban areas, but those closures have different effects. A study of California communities that lost hospitals found rural patients experienced a 76% increase in ambulance transportation time. Inpatient mortality rose nearly 9%. Urban communities saw little change.
Once a hospital closes, the chances of it coming back are small.
Brock Slabaugh runs the National Rural Health Association.
Once the physicians, the nurse practitioners, the physician assistants leaves, all of your staff leaves, recruiting that back could be next to near impossible.
This was the case before a global pandemic that has caused national burnout among workers in healthcare. In a November survey of rural hospitals, 96% of respondents said they have difficulty finding nurses. Nearly 99% said they were short on staff.
A shooting on a Georgia highway left 17-year-old Haley Hutchinson dead and William Marcus Wilson behind bars for her alleged murder. But Wilson claims self-defense. His legal team argues Wilson feared for his life and the safety of his girlfriend when the truck Hutchinson was a passenger in with a group of teens allegedly launched racist remarks and tried to run them off the road. The people in the truck denied driving aggressively or making antagonistic statements.
They have to prove that Mark Wilson was in reasonable fear of receiving serious bodily injury or even death, right? And that he acted in that, reasonably in that fear that he was about to be harmed.
It's another self-defense argument in a string of high-profile cases across the country recently. In many states, self-defense expands to the right to stand your ground. That means there's not a duty to retreat, including in public locations.
It extends to a defendant the right to cut off a prosecution with really just 50.1% of the evidence on your side, and without the jury having an opportunity to determine the reasonableness of your actions.
In Georgia, as with at least 24 other states, self-defense expands to the right to stand your ground.
What happened is we've extended the right to claim self-defense to solve a wrongful conviction problem that didn't exist.
We spoke with John Roman. He's a senior fellow at NORC at the University of Chicago.
What factor does race play in those laws?
So race plays a huge role in self-defense claims generally. A white defendant is somebody who commits a homicide, let's call them the shooter, because these are almost all shootings. So a white shooter is much more likely to be found to be acting in self-defense in general than a black shooter. When you add in stand your ground laws, that likelihood, that racial disparity increases dramatically.
It's a concern for the Southern Center for Human Rights.
We do have concerns that Mark's race will also play into whether or not he gets a fair opportunity to argue the stand your ground immunity motion.
I love
Art is a tool for expression, and for many artists, this medium has been a saving grace through the pandemic. One painter decided to challenge herself and try something new in order to send the right message. Art has no boundaries. There is always something new to explore.
I don't know what's going to happen. This guy had polka dots, that's dorky. As I'm painting it, I'm like, oh, I have a stovetop espresso.
That is even more clear to Megan Williamson.
This woman, she was talking about the first day of Ramadan.
After nearly 2 years living through this pandemic.
This was a woman who was really mad, but you can see she lives in a lovely place. This is Ron Kim. He's a council member in New York, and I just love the way he's lit.
She is a painter in Chicago.
Medium.
And immediately became fascinated with work from home spaces.
The portrait series did start because I was watching the news a ton, like everybody, and I could only watch it on my phone.
Megan took screenshots of people being interviewed on the news from the comfort of their homes, then transformed them into the 100 portraits now hanging in her studio.
It was the sense of one person in their place, and I kind of couldn't stop. When I get going on a series, it's kind of like a runaway horse.
The more she painted, the more she realized just how humanity was being captured in her art.
So even the experts were at their kitchen table making their best guess. And then it's like, oh, you're wearing a sweater in front of your mantelpiece with the painting of your dog. I mean, it just made them human. Well, I had to put a moratorium on balding white men in front of bookcases. This woman's cat came in and she just kind of said, all right, we're gonna go with it. And she has this pink chair just set back, like, who is that for?
When this journey began, she didn't know what it would turn into.
And I have never painted from photographs before. I'm not a portrait painter. I do still lifes, landscapes, and then work out of my head. So this was a new thing.
But as it turns out, it spoke volumes to Megan and has now become a center of relatability for others.
It was a response to the time. I didn't know I was responding necessarily in the beginning, but yeah, I wanted to capture it. It felt very personal, like I was trying to work something out about, just being locked up in the pandemic, in lockdown.
People from all walks of life, frozen in time, adapting to the world of lockdown.
Yeah, we've all seen these people, or we are these people. It's just people that do this, that make laws or invent things.
To Megan, this piece is about shared humanity and the connection we have to each other.
I'm so fond of all these my nameless friends.
In Chicago, with photojournalist Luis Ramirez, I'm Jessie Cohen reporting.
And temperature is going to get into the 50s this afternoon. Normally should be at 62. We'll be at 57 in Bryan College Station. Overnight down into the 30s, maybe even a light freeze for some of our northeastern counties. So bringing the pets and the plants again won't be a pipe-busting freeze by any means, and we'll stay above freezing in Bryan College Station. 60 degrees tomorrow, 54 on Friday. Cold air works in with a cold front on Friday. We're in the 60s and 70s for the weekend, but mornings will still be chilly. And then we're watching some more rain chances next week before a stronger cold front comes in.
A cryptic craze that's catching on, played in waiting rooms, at home, at work, at coffee shops, and even at the gym. A word game has been taking the English-speaking world by storm. With strategy and frustrations being discussed on social media, Wordle, designed by an American-based Brit, Josh Wardle, for his puzzle-loving girlfriend, is a game that requires players to work out a 5-letter word with correct letters from incorrect guesses highlighted to provide clues.
Because I also find it addictive. I get mad when I don't get it because I do the crossword every day. So I thought it would be easy, but it's not.
It's proved to be the perfect tonic for January blues as millions of people try to solve the Wordle of the day. But across the pond, where English was first spoken, there's a problem that's recently perplexed many Brits. Some of our words are spelt differently.
Here in Britain, there are very many people, including an increasing number of Wordle players, who feel very passionately about their version of English being the correct version, not to labour the point.
Something that recently caused confusion and controversy, with the Wordle of the day, favour, being 5 letters in American English, but 6 letters in English English.
So how would you guys spell centre?
Centre? C-E-N-T-R-E.
And how would you expect an American to spell it?
They transpose the E and the R at the end.
And who do you think is right and why?
Oh, there's no doubt, is there? The Oxford English Dictionary.
How would you spell liter?
L-I-T-E-R.
How do you think they spell it in this country?
Well, I know how they spell it because I've lived here long enough, but it is confusing, to say the least.
Who's right and who's wrong?
Well, there's more Americans that would spell it L-I-T-E-R.
So you think America is right?
I don't know.
I love
Like the bird, I'm here to fly and soar high.
Promoting diverse children's books. That's the goal for Meredith McKinney. The former Nashville teacher launched the Black Book Project last year. Her mission is to get more children to read, but it's also important that they can see themselves come alive on these pages.
I launched the Black Book Project in hopes to be able to increase representation among literature so that our brown and black children will understand that they are important and they should be represented and they should have an opportunity to own books that represent them.
McKinney wants to get 2,000 books donated before the end of Black History Month in February.
I woke up early one morning. It was the first day of school.
This Nebraska mom is helping parents and children navigate the constant adjustments and emotions related to the pandemic.
When I started having anxious feelings about returning to work in the schools, I thought that parents and children might be experiencing these same feelings.
Megan Hoffman wrote the book titled The Best School Year Yet. She said the book teaches children healthy methods to handle their emotions and addresses the importance of mask wearing and social distancing so they are able to better deal with changes happening in their schools.
I want to encourage families that even though there's been a lot of changes over the past 2 years, that this can still be a great, successful year for your child.